afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. The 5th annual UVM Food Systems Summit kicks off tomorrow. It's a two-day event that draws researchers, scholars, and food systems leaders from around the world. It focuses on key issues involving food, from agricultural production practices and labor policies to cultural culinary traditions. Across the Fence spoke with the summit coordinator about what's happening at this year's event.
The UVM Food Systems Summit is an annual conference that draws about 300 participants to come and gather, discuss current food systems issues, hear from keynote speakers who are leaders in the field, and share their ideas for how we address and deal with the current issues of the day.
What is a food system?
So a food system is an interconnected system that provides our nourishment. So the production of agriculture and how we distribute food across our communities and how we eat it, as well as the other pieces that affect food systems, such as economic policies, public health policies. What are the health impacts of food? What are the environmental impacts of food? When we're thinking about sustainability, what does that look like when we're growing food and dealing with food waste? So it's really all of the pieces of production, distribution, and consumption, as well as the other social, political, and economic systems that interact with food.
What's new this year?
Last year we heard from a lot of participants who wanted more opportunities to interact in small groups. So we incorporated that into the conference this year. We put out a call for session proposals, and we heard from a lot of people who wanted to convene sessions on a wide variety of topics. And we actually invited our summit participants to vote on which topics they wanted to see at the summit. We got great response, and we're going to be offering 40 sessions over the 2 days, which gives people opportunities to dive in deep on some of the subjects that they really care about. Rather than just being spoken at, they're going to be really participating in the conversations.
This is the 5th year of the summit. What discussions have changed around food in that time?
Over the last 5 years, we've seen a little bit of a shift from talking about the food system as a system of production, distribution, and consumption, the physical attributes of the food system, to really thinking about the complicated, more abstract pieces of the food system. What are our cultural pieces? What drives our culinary traditions? What other external pieces of our culture influence food and how we grow it, who has access to it, and why we make decisions in the food system that we do.
The theme of this year's summit is what makes food good. What does that mean?
So the idea of good food is very subjective, and what we're trying to do this year is provide a space where we can kind of tease apart what are the assumptions that people bring into the idea of good food. You can have people arguing for one type of food being good and another set of folks arguing the complete opposite. And so we really wanted to provide a space where we could consider issues that people hold really deep beliefs around. Things like GMOs, local food, large-scale agriculture. What does it mean to be sustainable? These questions don't have right or wrong answers. There aren't any objective truths. We just know that people who bring different sets of values and different ideas of goodness are going to come up with different answers for what makes food good. So we want to provide a space for those conversations.
Food is something that we take for granted, so why is food so complicated?
Well, when it comes to the food systems, there's a lot of other systems that have impacts on it, and food also touches a lot of other things in our lives. So, for example, what seems like external issues like property rights and questions about local development can mean the difference between who has access to food or whether food can be grown in certain spaces, who has access to the information required to grow food. And so when it comes to food systems, we see that there's a lot of complicated social, political, economic, and even emotional, our own ideas about food, pieces that can play in and have an impact on and also be affected by the food system.
Allison, what do you hope participants take away from this year's Food Systems Summit?
I hope participants leave having been a little challenged about what their own assumptions are when it comes to food, and hopefully have a better understanding of what other stakeholders in the food system bring to their ideas of good food. For example, a farmer will approach food in a very different way than a chef will, and they'll have different ideas about what makes it good. So I hope that participants have an opportunity to share their own ideas and hear other people's ideas, make some new connections, leave with some new friends, and hopefully leave with some ideas about how they're going to incorporate the ideas that they are coming away with into their lives and their work.
And our thanks to Allison Neihart for sharing that information about the summit with us. While scholars and researchers are gathering for the summit, some UVM students have ended their semester with a competition. The university's annual business pitch competition requires a student to present a detailed business plan to a panel of judges and investors. The student business plans and ideas are also tested by entrepreneurs and venture capitalists. Across the Fence's Rebecca Gollin tells us more.
Vermont is a good place to be an entrepreneur, whether it's bottling beer, working on the farm, or selling wares from a traditional storefront. It's also a great place to be if you're learning how to become an entrepreneur.
I've been brewing beer for the past 3 years, and I've come to realize that it is an immense passion of mine, and I will be opening a microbrewery.
Venturing, or entrepreneurship, is very strong in Vermont and always has been.
Dave Kaufman teaches entrepreneurship in UVM's Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources. But that's just one place for UVM students to learn about entrepreneurship.
Recognizing that need across the campus, it's important to have at least a couple of programs at the university that move students in that direction and enable them and move them forward so that they can create their own jobs, their own businesses. There's a specific program in the business school. There's a specific program in community development, applied economics, CDAE, and then as part of our Parks, Recreation, and Tourism program in Rubenstein, we have the entrepreneurship course.
All right, Emily, how are you figuring out what to price your tours?
While each college has its own business curriculum, one thing is the same. Each offers a class where students spend the semester learning the finer points of entrepreneurship by creating an in-depth business plan.
You start off at day one, you choose a business plan. Day two, you write a mission statement, and then you just slowly build on from there. So it feels like you're only doing a page or two a night, but pretty soon you have a 20-page business plan.
I had the idea before I came into the class. I had the passion for brewing and for drinking high-quality beer. But this class itself has taught me a lot about basic financials, business planning, understanding pretty much what goes on in the real world.
Nick Kaufman is a CDAE minor. He's not sure if or when he would start his own business, but he knows he could.
I have a lot better understanding of how to go into a job interview, how to approach professionals, and I have a very, very complete business plan in order to present it to any potential customers in the future or to any potential employers.
Everybody can be an entrepreneur if we help people to see what's involved.
Kathleen Liang teaches community entrepreneurship in CDAE. A major focus in her classes is that there's a lot more to starting a successful business than just thinking about profits.
If you want to take the risk to put money in something you have passion about, but then what are the consequences? We have to help people to realize a dream is a good dream, but it can turn into a nightmare if you're not well prepared. That's usually my first sentence when I start a class.
Being in the community development instead of a business school, we're talking about sustainability, and it's not, the first goal isn't just profit. And I think that's the main part about the CDAE program. It's sustainability, integrating yourself in the community. If you're going to build a customer base, it will be starting out with the locals, trying to get their actual love for your business.
On this day, students from Kaufman and Liang's classes, as well as from the business school, have come together for an entrepreneurship competition. They're sharing the business plans they've been working on all semester and competing for cash prizes.
What did you have to do to get ready for this competition today?
Didn't sleep. I was actually up till 2 a.m. last night preparing my finances just so that they were lined up perfectly, that if they wanted to ask any question, I was ready and prepared for it.
As a Parks, Recreation, and Tourism major, Zach Palladino spends most of his time focusing on national parks. This is the first business class he's ever taken.
If you allowed yourself some starting money, include it in the first quarter because it's cash that you have available to use.
Income statements to your cash flows, and I didn't even know what those meant when I first started out, and just going page by page and like just line by line, okay, this is what rent's gonna cost, and this is what depreciation is and how much it's gonna be for myself.
They have to do research. They have to understand what industry they're in. They have to understand if there's a market. They have to understand if that market is big enough, if it can be sustained, how to reach that market through a marketing plan. But ultimately it comes down to how you're going to pay for it and are you going to make money.
Here's how it works. Trips are booked either online through our website or at our storefront. Clients will choose their desired activity, location, duration, group size, and their desired final product.
The students develop their business plans out of something they're passionate about. For Palladino, that is skydiving.
And I love to skydive, so I got off the ground with an idea to do some sort of skydiving industry or business that would tap into college kids.
After spending dozens of hours this semester developing his plan and crunching numbers, Palladino was pleasantly surprised by his results.
After whittling it down and getting actually hard numbers and investors, I figured out it's actually something that is feasible and could be done. And I think that was probably one of the coolest parts, from just going to this lofty idea of skydiving to, holy cow, if I wanted to, next year I could actually create this drop zone. So that was really cool.
It's an adventure, but it's a somewhat of a safe adventure. You're not going to get laid off by a big company if you own your own small business. You may go out of business, but at least you did it on your own. Somebody didn't force you. Somebody didn't give you that pink slip and say, sorry, you don't have a job tomorrow. That doesn't happen. And for the most part, a lot of small businesses fail, but quite honestly, small businesses fail more not because the concept was wrong, but because of lack of attention to detail, or they didn't keep their focus and tried to do too much, too fast, with too little.
Here in Vermont, you probably have a lot of opportunities in your backyard, but if we don't help people to explore them, people leave. And if we could get this momentum going and help students, help our own young people to see how they can create their own opportunities right here in this fabulous state.
Most of the students here today are planning to get some experience under their belts before venturing out on their own.
This class has definitely taught me a lot of the importance of making a good first impression and making sure that you are presenting yourself well and knowing that what you do and what you write will be seen by others, whether you think it will or not. So being sure that you're always in that good light regardless, and especially giving a pitch, everything is on that first appeal, and being able to trim down what do I actually need to say versus what don't I need to say, and that can just go for everywhere in life. With my resume, with the jobs I'm going to, what do I need to actually tell them versus, they don't need to know my favorite color is green, but giving them the big broad topics of this is why I'm a good candidate for you. And I would say that is probably the most beneficial thing I'll take away from this class.
For the business, suspended time skydiving. Zachary Palladino, would you please come forward?
He'll also take a check that he's going to put towards some skydiving gear for winning the top prize in the competition. He won't be starting his business right away, but he's not ruling it out for the future.
Who knows, down the line, a couple of years from now, hopefully I'd be in a stable place with a stable job and could actually start working at a drop zone, and I would love to either take over it or start my own, definitely, because it is my passion in life.
It is still currently in the growth phase with a projected...
And after all, passion is the first step to a successful business. In Burlington, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
Thank you, Rebecca, and our congratulations to the student winners. That's our program for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.